Benjamin Franklin Norris Jr. was born in 1870 in Chicago. He was the only child his parents Gertrude Doggett and Benjamin Franklin Norris bore. At 14 years old, his family moved to San Francisco, California, where his father began a real estate business. He built cheap houses for people to rent and profited a great deal by doing so. Norris would later write about these houses in his first novel. He found San Francisco to be very exciting, as his first house was often surrounded by parades, pageants, small shops, and a dental parlor. These scenes and places proved to be pertinent to Norris as they later became settings in the foundations of storylines in his novels. In 1885, Norris was enrolled in Belmont Academy. However, he had a horrible time in formal schooling as he did not generally enjoy it or have the talent in math to receive scholarships. Although those were his main issues, it was a broken arm while playing football for the school that had him calling quits. After just 1 year of enrollment, Norris stayed home where he decided he would be an artist. Norris convinced his parents to send him to San Francisco Art Association School, and his success persuaded his father to send him to the finest art schools in Paris. While he did not learn how to paint there, he did learn the fundamentals and principles of art, as well as the discipline that would later serve him as an author. In 1889, his father called him home because he did not think he was spending his time well. In the fall of 1890, Norris entered the University of California, Berkeley, determined to be a writer. But almost immediately, he found himself at odds with his English professors over proper English composition. Struggling in school, Norris had turned to a more social life and joined the frat. Although his academics were going virtually nowhere, he gained tons of popularity from pulling many pranks in school. All the while, his family was breaking apart. His father left for Europe and found a new wife, whom he took back to the States, and Frank never saw his father again. In 1894, although Norris was doing well in his science class, his abysmal progress in mathematics forced him to leave with no degree. The following fall, he enrolled in Harvard as a special student, studying only English and French. There he found success under Professor Lewis Gates, and Norris began his first two novels, Vandover and the Brute and McTeague. After a year, Norris moved back to San Francisco and took a job with the newspaper The Chronicle. He convinced the paper to send him to South Africa to cover the Boer War. In spite of being able to go, tropical fever forced an early return. Next, Norris joined the staff of the San Francisco Wave as an assistant editor. He looked over books, wrote short stories, reviewed art expositions, and wrote feature stories to fill in newspaper pages. Norris found it hard to work for extended periods of time, though, and took two major leaves. One to the Big Dipper mine near Colfax, California, where he finished McTeague, and another time to begin his third novel, Moran of the Lady Lynn. Frank began selling his installments of his new book to magazines and caught the eye of S.S. McClure. McClure then invited Norris to the staff of Doubleday as a reader. The position paid poorly and he had little to no status, but allowed him to finish his third novel and start new works. However, Frank began to regret his decision of taking a low-paying job. At the start of the Spanish-American War, Norris asked McClure to send him to Cuba to cover the war, and McClure agreed. There, Norris caught another fever that forced an early return, and the magazine did not even publish any of his stories. Never sure of his position with McClure, he left the company in 1889 to join newly founded firm Doubleday Page, again as a poorly paid reader. There, he wrote Blix and A Man's Woman and began his most famous work, The Octopus. Also during this time, he married Jeanette Black. As Norris' royalties grew from the sale of his own novels, he found the financial independence to move back to California. He completed The Pit, the second book in his projected trilogy of Wheat novels, and planned a trip to the tropics with his wife. This, however, was postponed when his wife had to get her appendix removed. Then he too began to have stomach pains. Thinking it was only a small sickness, he did not go to the doctor until he was seriously sick. And on October 25th, 1902, he died from peritonitis that he received from a ruptured appendix. Norris was one of a handful of writers in the beginning of the century who used literary naturalism to American subjects and themes. As a writer, he treated his subject matter brutally yet sincerely. His characters are considered pawns driven by outside forces over which they have no control, portrayed as helpless creatures determined by their hereditary environment. In his most successful novels, his representations of human following a slow but inevitable course toward destruction has an enduring allure. Frank Norris' production of setting not only had a reader reading the scenes, but living them as well.
Oh, yes. The Octopus is going to be a hit. When Presley wrote that letter to Magnus Derrick, ooh, the fans are gonna love it. I should go tell my wife. Oh, my stomach. It hurts so bad. Should I go to the hospital? Is it serious? Nah, I'll be okay. My appendix is ruptured. Someone get help.